Video on selecting an operating system. In this video, I'm specifically looking at what processes do we go through when we're thinking about picking which operating system to use, what hardware and software requirements are there, what are the security things that we need to think about, accessibility, upgrading options, and all those other sorts of things. Again, we're still looking at the syllabus dot point of explaining the purpose and functions of an operating system. We're then looking at the key heading, second heading there in the syllabus, selecting an operating system. There are four main things that affect the choice of your operating system. The first is the workplace. Compatibility is absolutely key when it comes to selecting an operating system. Businesses typically prefer to have a single operating environment which maximizes the user proficiency in basic troubleshooting. It maximizes the compatibility with their existing hardware and their software systems, and it minimizes the load on the technical support team. As an example, here at the college, we operate almost solely on Apple's operating systems. This means that our ICT support team are able to become specialists in providing technical support for the Apple devices at the college. It also means that when we're purchasing or preparing software for use by students and staff, we only need to know the procedures, processes, and troubleshooting information around one single version of that software, and that is the operating system Mac-based versions. When we're thinking about hardware and software, we then start thinking about what hardware is available to us, what hardware will we need to use in the future, and will the operating system of choice be able to work very well, very simply with that hardware? We also need to think about the operating system and the requirements they have. There are technical requirements that each operating system has. These could be both minimum requirements and also recommended requirements. And I'll cover that more in a little bit of detail later. But effectively, you need to meet the hardware requirements of the operating system for it to work. And in order for the operating system to work for you and your business, it needs to meet the hardware requirements that we have. Now, there are plenty of examples of hardware that only work on Windows devices. And particularly, I'm thinking of really basic things like ticket printers that quite often struggle to work with the Macintosh system unless there's third-party software included. I'm also thinking scanners and other sorts of peripherals. Now, in a specialist environment, that may be the case. Additionally, we've got to think about the software and making sure that the software that the business currently uses is going to be compatible with our new operating system that we recommend. Now, I might be thinking about perhaps I'm setting up a computer for a gamer and they've got a specific game that they want to be able to use that is only available on a PC. If that's the case, I would really need to make sure that I selected a Windows-based operating system in order for that game to work. Many of the major software vendors, like Microsoft for example, now provide licenses that when you purchase the license, you purchase access to their software on any operating system. So I'm thinking, for example, Microsoft Office 365 and their license that they have available. We have a license to that, you sign in, and it then gives you the option of, did you want the Mac or the PC version of the software? You're allowed to use it as long as you sign in and you've got an active license. We don't care which version you use. And that's pretty common for the major vendors. When we're thinking about computer systems at businesses that might be using transaction software, it might be really specifically based on the PC or the Windows operating system. Security is a third requirement that needs to be considered when thinking about selecting an operating system. We think about access to viruses, we think about licenses for antivirus software that we already have, and we also think of other security options such as biometric or RFID readers, firewalls, etc., and whether they're compatible with the operating system of choice. The final option there is accessibility. We really need to think about, is this operating system accessible for the users? If the user can't use it, then it's of no use. Some of the special sorts of accessibility considerations we need to consider are things like screen contrasting, resolution, voice activation, speech to text, etc. Because we really need to make sure that everyone can get the best out of their system. Now, when we're recommending an upgrade or a new operating system, there are some things we need to do. First is we need to really review the current setup, think about what the client needs, and then make an informed decision about which operating system we think is best for them. Is it an upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10, or are they best going from Windows 7 all the way across to the Macintosh environment? You then need to speak to your client, give them the information that you've found, and seek their approval. Once you've had that, you begin the process of upgrading the operating system. And that process begins with a backup. You need to make sure that you have a copy of the user's existing files in the event that something goes wrong and your your upgrade or your install fails. If that's the case, you potentially will lose all of the client's files, and you need a backup so that you restore it so that the client isn't disadvantaged. You also need to think about how are you going to document this new system. Are you going to put together some user guides, some troubleshooting information, and then the training and onboarding of the staff. In this whole process, you're going to be working closely with the clients or the users, their supervisors or managers, the suppliers that you're getting your hardware and software from, as well as the technical support team to make sure that they're able to support the new system that you're setting up. That's the end of selecting an operating system.